5 years ago, my sister stole my husband. 5 years later, she stood at my parents' front door alone. No Danielle, no wedding ring, just Claire. And the first thought that crossed my mind was, what happened to the man she chose over me? My name is Emily. Before Claire destroyed my marriage, I trusted her more than anyone. Daniel and I had been married for 6 years. We weren't perfect, but I believed we were happy. Then Claire started coming over more often. At first, I didn't think anything of it, but little things began changing. Whenever Daniel and I argued, Claire defended him. Emily, you know how hard he works. One evening, Daniel made a joke about a restaurant we had visited together years ago. Claire laughed immediately. Then she added, "The waiter who spilled coffee on your shirt?" Daniel looked at her and smiled. "You remember that?" They both laughed. I didn't. I looked between them. How do you two remember things I don't? Claire shrugged. Daniel tells funny stories. I smiled, but something inside me felt strangely uncomfortable. Another time, I complained to Daniel about a problem at work. The next morning, Claire gave me advice about it. I stared at her. How did you know? She smiled. Daniel mentioned it. I should have questioned her. Instead, I trusted my sister. Then Daniel started becoming protective of her. If I asked why Claire was visiting so often, he'd get defensive. She's your sister, Emily. Why are you making this weird? I felt guilty for even asking. Until one Friday night, Daniel told me he had to work late. At 11:47 p.m., Claire texted me. We need to talk. I called her. No answer. The next morning, Daniel finally came home. He wasn't coming from work. I knew it immediately. Where were you? He couldn't meet my eyes. Emily, I'm sorry. My heart began pounding. What happened? He took a breath. I've fallen in love with Claire. For several seconds, I couldn't understand the words. My mind searched for another explanation. An affair? A mistake? A lie? Anything would have been easier than the truth. My husband. My sister. Together. Then the front door opened. Claire walked inside. She looked at Daniel first. That tiny glance told me everything. You knew, I whispered. She nodded. You knew I was married to him? Yes. You knew I loved him? Her eyes filled with tears. I know. Then why? Claire looked at Daniel, then back at me. Because I love him. Something inside me went completely numb. My parents told me people make mistakes. I shook my head. No, mistakes happen by accident. I looked at Claire. This was a choice. So I made mine. I left. For 5 years, I rebuilt my life without them. I changed my number, moved into my own apartment, built a career, and learned to stop needing my family's approval. Then Mom called. Emily, Claire is coming home Sunday. I almost refused. Then she said, she isn't coming with Daniel. My chest tightened. Where is he? I don't know. 5 years later, Claire was finally coming home, but she wasn't wearing a wedding ring. And when she saw me, she quietly said, Emily, before you ask about Daniel, there is something you need to know. Emily, before you ask about Daniel, there is something you need to know. Claire's voice was quiet. 5 years ago, she had chosen my husband. Now she was sitting across from me without him. What happened to Daniel? Claire looked down. Daniel and I got married 6 months after you left. I already knew that. What I didn't know was what happened afterward. At first, I thought I had everything I wanted, she said. But things changed quickly. Daniel became controlling. He questioned where she went, who she talked to, and why she spent money. Then he started accusing her of hiding things. Ironically, he was the one hiding something. He started coming home late, Claire said. He'd turn his phone upside down whenever I walked into the room. I crossed my arms. And you stayed? I thought I could fix him. A bitter smile almost reached my lips. You couldn't fix him 5 years ago either. Claire looked away. I know. Then she told me Daniel had been seeing another woman. When Claire confronted him, he didn't deny it. He left me. I felt a strange emptiness. Not happiness, not sympathy, just confirmation. The man my sister had chosen had eventually betrayed her too. But then Claire said something that changed everything. After Daniel left, I found something. She opened her old laptop. I need you to understand something first. I didn't know about this while we were married. I stared at her. Claire, you lied to me once. Why should I believe you now? She nodded slowly. You shouldn't. That answer surprised me. That's why I want you to see it yourself. She opened an archived email account she had found while going through Daniel's old files after their divorce. There were hundreds of messages, she said. I searched for your name. She typed, Emily. Several results appeared. Then one dated 5 years ago caught her attention. The sender was Daniel. My hands went cold. I read it myself. Claire, Emily can never know what I discussed with her father. I stopped breathing. My father? Claire nodded. I never knew what that meant. I opened another message. This one was shorter. Make sure the meeting on the 18th stays between us. She cannot know. I stared at the screen. What meeting? I don't know. You're sure? Yes, I looked at her. For 5 years, I had believed Daniel betrayed me because he fell in love with my sister. Now I wasn't so sure. Maybe something else had been happening behind my back. Something involving my father. Something Daniel desperately wanted to keep secret. I closed the laptop. Why didn't you show me this before? Because I was afraid you wouldn't believe me. I still don't know if I do. Claire nodded. I understand. She closed the laptop and looked at me. But there's something I do know. What? Daniel was terrified that you would discover the truth. My heart began pounding. What truth? Claire shook her head. I don't know. For the first time, I wasn't asking where Daniel had gone. I was asking something much more dangerous. Why had Daniel been secretly talking to my father 5 years ago? The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. I hadn't slept much. All night, one sentence kept repeating in my head. Make sure the meeting on the 18th stays between us. A meeting between Daniel and my father. 5 years ago? Why? My father was in the kitchen when I arrived. Dad, I need to ask you something. He looked up. About what? Daniel. His expression changed. Only for a second. But I noticed. When was the last time you spoke to him? He sighed. 5 years ago. About what? He looked away. Your marriage. I didn't believe him. Dad, Claire showed me Daniel's emails. His face tightened. What emails? The ones about your meeting. Silence. Then he quietly said, You weren't supposed to find those. My heart sank. What happened on the 18th? Dad sat down. Daniel came here asking questions about our family. What kind of questions? Financial questions? About what? I can't tell you everything. Why? Because I didn't trust him. That answer stopped me. What did he want? Dad hesitated. He wanted me to sign something. What? I refused. Why? Because I didn't understand what signing it would mean. I stared at him. What was the document? He didn't answer. Dad? He rubbed his forehead. I thought keeping it from you would protect you. Protect me from what? From everything Daniel was trying to do. My anger rose. I've already lost 5 years because nobody told me the truth. Dad looked at me for a long moment. Then he sighed. You are going to find out eventually. He stood. And if Daniel really was willing to use our family, hiding this from you isn't protecting you anymore. He walked toward his study. From the bottom drawer of an old cabinet, he pulled out a thin folder. He placed it on the desk. This is the document Daniel wanted. I stared at it. Why would he want you to sign this? I don't know. You never found out? I knew enough to say no. He opened the folder. I looked at the first page. It wasn't a will. It wasn't a bank record. It was something I'd never seen before. My eyes stopped. I stared at the title. Family Asset Transfer Restriction. I looked at my father. What is this? Dad pulled out a chair. Your grandfather created it years ago. I read the first page again. It was a legal restriction protecting a family-owned lakeside property. According to the document, the property couldn't simply be sold, transferred, or controlled by someone who married into the family without specific approval. My throat tightened. Daniel wanted you to sign this away? Dad nodded. But why would he care about our property? I don't know. I looked at him. You're telling me Daniel knew about this before we got married? Dad hesitated. He knew something existed. That sentence made my stomach turn. I remembered all the questions Daniel used to ask about my family. Questions I had once thought were harmless. Now they didn't feel harmless at all. I called Claire. She answered after several rings. Emily? Did Daniel ever ask you about my grandfather? Silence. Then she whispered, Yes. My chest tightened. When? Before we got married. What did he ask? He wanted to know what your grandfather had left behind. You knew? I didn't understand why. I closed my eyes. Claire, you were my sister. You should have told me. I know. Her voice cracked. I was already hiding the affair. I was ashamed. And by then, I believed Daniel loved me. I looked at the document again. Did Daniel ever mention this property? No. Then what did he tell you? He said your family was protecting something valuable. That answer left me even more confused. I ended the call and looked back at Dad. There's something else, isn't there? Dad didn't answer. He turned the document over. A handwritten note was attached to the back. I recognized my grandfather's handwriting immediately. It said, Never approve a transfer without knowing who is requesting it or why. Below the note was a date. 3 months before I had ever met Daniel, I stared at Dad. Grandpa wrote this before Daniel was even in my life. Yes, so he wasn't warning us about Daniel specifically. No. Then who was he worried about? Dad shook his head. I don't know. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then I remembered something Claire had told me. Daniel didn't discover your family's secret by accident. I looked at Dad. Who told him? His expression changed. I don't know. You do know. Dad looked away. Emily, some things are better left buried. I felt anger rise inside me. No. 5 years ago, everyone decided what I was allowed to know. I picked up the document. I'm done letting people make that decision for me. Dad finally looked at me. You're not ready for what you'll find. Then tell me. He remained silent. And that's when I realized something terrifying. Someone had deliberately led Daniel to our family secret. Someone who knew exactly what my grandfather had protected. And whoever that person was, had been close enough to know exactly what that protection meant. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Revenge Diaries for more powerful family betrayal, revenge and justice stories,